3 Fed officials just voted to raise your borrowing costs over a tax Washington swears foreigners pay.
That's interesting. The people actually paying that tax are standing in a Home Depot parking lot down the street.
Yeah, exactly why we're doing this show. I'm Max.
And I'm Blake. Welcome to The Common Thread.
Wednesday, the Fed holds rates steady, 9-3, but 3 votes for a hike.
Tech Times called it the most hawkish FOMC split in almost a decade.
Almost a decade. So we're going to look at where that inflation worry is really coming from.
Then we follow the money, what the bond market did that same afternoon and what it's already doing to your mortgage.
Hint, not in your favor.
And somewhere in there is a number from the CBO nobody in Washington once read out loud.
Wait for it.
Trillion, with the T.
And climbing every single year after this one.
We'll leave you something concrete to do about it, not just something to worry over. So Max, 9-3. What actually happened in that room Wednesday?
9-3. That's the vote nobody had on their bingo card this week.
9-3 to hold at 3.5 to 375. Fifth straight meeting with no move. CNBC reported that Wednesday.
Right, but 3 no votes all wanting to go up a quarter point.
Which is the part people gloss over. A dissent isn't a regional president being difficult. It's someone putting their name on the record saying the majority got it wrong.
And it's not just any 3. Cleveland's Beth Hammock, Minneapolis's Neil Kashkari, Dallas's Lori Logan, all 3 wanted the hike.
CNN's coverage of the meeting flagged this as the most hawkish 3-way split since September 2016.
A decade. Almost a decade since the committee split like that.
So walk me through this. For months, Wall Street was pricing a cut, not a hold, a cut. Where did that expectation come from?
Mostly hope. The story was inflation's cooling enough that the Fed could ease off.
And now traders are staring at a possible hike in September instead.
That's the setup. You get so locked into the story everyone's telling each other that you stop checking whether the data actually agrees.
The consensus trap strikes again.
There it is.
Wall Street built a narrative, priced it into every trade, and the committee just didn't cooperate.
And Chair Kevin Warsh isn't smoothing it over either. At the press conference, quote, "I asked for a good family fight and I got one."
A family fight. That's a generous way to describe 3 presidents publicly telling your read wrong.
He also refused to call the hold a pause, wouldn't use the word. CNN and CNBC both flagged that directly.
Which tells you what? That nothing's settled?
September's live. That's the message.
So if you're the deciding vote sitting between hold and hike, what actually convinced 3 of your colleagues the majority called it wrong? What did they see that the other 9 didn't?
Short pause.
Short pause.
Building on that vote, trace it backward with me. What actually convinced 3 presidents inflation wasn't fading?
CNBC's piece on the dissent laid it out. They flagged price pressure from tariffs and from oil, tied straight to the Iran conflict.
2 different animals. Tariffs are policy choice made in Washington. Oil's a shock nobody voted on. Which one's actually moving the number?
Both, honestly. But here's what nobody says on cable. If a tariff shows up in the inflation print and the Fed has to hike to fight it, that tariff just became a tax. Working families already paid it.
That's interesting. Walk me through the math. June CPI landed near 3.4% annually.
Yeah, and the Fed's own June projections put PCE inflation around 3.6% for the year.
Target's 2%. That's not a rounding error.
No way you call that academic.
So who paid it? Where did you actually see it?
Buddy of mine runs a small contracting outfit near me. Lumber and steel quotes jumped this spring. He didn't eat that cost. He passed it straight to the homeowner.
Same story at the grocery store, probably.
Cart's up. Everybody I know has noticed.
So it functioned exactly like a sales tax. Nobody just mailed you the receipt.
Dark, but yeah, that's basically it.
Where's the credit, though? You've been saying the administration got something somewhere.
On trade terms, sure. Some of these deals reset supply chains that had been lopsided for a decade. I'll give them that.
I'll give them that outcome. I want the arithmetic on who absorbed the cost while we waited on the payoff.
Fair. Households did, right now.
And Fox Business reported the Fed is holding partly because uncertainty from the Iran war makes that math even murkier.
Which means the tab's still open.
And tabs like that get settled somewhere public. Where? The bond market doesn't do politics. It just prices risk, and this week it has something to say.
Building on that tax idea, the bond market didn't wait to argue with us.
What'd it do?
CNN Business reported the Dow dropped about 1,153 points on decision day, and the 30-year Treasury yield hit its highest level since 2007.
That's interesting. Since 2007, before the crisis.
Yeah. Investors are basically saying a hold isn't reassurance.
Walk me through what that yield does to a normal family.
Freddie Mac's weekly survey put the 30-year fixed mortgage at 6.66% for the week ending July 30th, up from 6.58% the week before.
8 basis points in a week.
On a $400,000 loan, that's real money. We're talking close to $20 more a month, and that compounds over 30 years.
Back in my old desk, we called that a rounding error on a term sheet. Try telling that to someone signing at closing.
Exactly. And the 10-year Treasury sitting near 4.6%, which is the benchmark lenders actually price off of.
So where does September land? I've seen 2 very different numbers floating around.
Polymarket's prediction market moves September hike odds up to somewhere around 60 to 70%.
And
FactSet's economist consensus still says no hike at all this year.
Wait, that's not a small gap. That's 2 different forecasts of the world.
Traders pricing risk in real time versus economists modeling probability. Somebody's wrong.
Or somebody's early. What breaks the tie?
The July CPI report out August 12th. That's the number the committee stares at before their next meeting.
3 weeks of guessing and then one report decides it.
Pretty much. Rising rates hit the Treasury the same way they hit your mortgage. Same mechanic, bigger scale.
Which is exactly where the federal interest bill comes in.
Follow that money uphill for a second.
Right into the federal budget. The CBO's new outlook puts net interest on the debt at right around $1 trillion in 2026.
Wait, trillion with a T. Just interest?
Just interest. Not principal, not new spending. That's 3.3% of the GDP. The CBO says that's the highest share of the economy interest payments have ever eaten.
So we're paying rent on money we already spent.
And climbing. The CBO projects that number hitting $2.1 trillion by 2036.
Okay, household terms. What does that mean for somebody in Ohio paying their own mortgage?
Less room for everything else. Every dollar of that interest is a dollar that isn't roads, isn't defense, isn't anything you actually voted for.
The tariffs were supposed to help with that, right? Wasn't that the pitch?
The CBO's numbers show tariff revenue did cut projected deficits around $3 trillion over the decade.
$3 trillion, not bad.
Except the same report shows the 2025 Reconciliation Act added about $4.7 trillion in that same window.
So the tariffs filled a third of a hole that got dug twice as deep.
That's the shape of it.
And you mentioned Social Security before we started.
The CBO moved up its estimate for when Social Security's retirement trust fund runs dry, 2032 now.
6 years? That's not some future Congress's problem.
That's the senators sitting in office right now. They own that date.
And every point the Fed added earlier makes all of this worse.
Higher rates mean the Treasury refinances its own debt at a higher cost too. Nobody's exempt from the math.
So the interest bill and your mortgage bill are running the same play?
Different scale, same mechanic.
Which raises the real question. Who's actually steering this?
The person setting the rate. Let's see how much he's willing to say out loud.
All right, Warsh's committee just split 3 ways, but the loudest thing about him might be what he's not saying.
Right. No forward guidance. CNBC reported Warsh has flat-out disdain for the old Fed habit of telegraphing his next move.
Walk me through the math on that. Shorter statement, no hints. Is that discipline, or is that cover for not having an answer?
Honestly, probably both. He's basically saying, watch the data with us, not trust our forecast.
And that's interesting, because CNBC also flagged that Governor Waller voiced real inflation worries publicly, said higher rates might be necessary, and then voted with the majority anyway.
Wait, so he talks hawk and votes dove.
That's the test, isn't it? Is dissent signal, or is it theater you get to have on the record without the vote actually costing you anything?
I lean towards, it's real concern, just not urgent enough yet to break with the room.
Fair. But here's what bugs me about the independence argument people keep making.
Go on.
A Fed fighting tariff-driven inflation is doing exactly its job, even when that fight is politically brutal for whoever imposed the tariffs in the first place.
Yeah, that's not a bug. That's the whole design. You don't get to cause the inflation and then blame the referee for calling it.
Right. And that's the accountability gap running through this entire week. Costs get imposed way up top, and they land on somebody who never voted for them.
Warsh didn't cause the tariffs. He's just the guy holding the rate lever when the bill comes due.
Which raises the real question for next time. Who actually pays when the people who made the choice never show up to answer for it?
And that's before we even get to what happens to your mortgage and the government's own interest bill on the very same afternoon.
Building on that accountability gap, here's the pattern underneath all 4 stories today.
Walk me through it.
Cost gets imposed way up top, tariffs, a rate decision nobody voted for, then it gets denied politically, and it lands on a committee with one blunt tool. That tool just raised your mortgage and the government's own interest bill on the same afternoon.
Same lever. 2 victims, the homeowner and the Treasury.
Exactly. So here's what I actually did this week, and you should too. I pulled the FOMC statement myself, not a headline, the actual document.
And?
Different read than the panic pieces. Then go grab the CBO summary tables, the same ones I've been quoting all episode. 10 minutes tops.
And don't take my word or CNBC's or Fox's on what it means before August 12th.
Right, that's when the July CPI print drops. Watch it live before you accept anyone's spin.
There's a local version too. Call your school district's finance office. Ask what they're paying to service bond debt this year.
People don't think about that.
They should. A higher rate environment hits the next bond issuance same as it hits your mortgage.
So that's the homework. One federal document, one date on the calendar, one phone call to your own county.
Small, but it's yours.
Cheaper than a contractor's tariff market. Okay, quick lightning round before we let you go.
The one thing that stuck with me. 3 regional presidents telling Washington the tariff bill's coming due.
Right, and Warsh basically admitted he wanted that fight.
So the takeaway, tariffs, the split vote, and the interest tab all point one direction. Cost land on your mortgage, your city's bond payment, your grocery bill.
Homework time, go read the actual FOMC statement, not the headline. Pull up the CBO's summary tables too.
Mark August 12th. That's the July CPI release. It'll tell us who's right.
And call your school district or county finance office. Ask what they're paying in debt service this year.
Your town needs you in that room.
Share this with someone who needs the full picture. Subscribe so you catch us every Saturday.
Thanks for sticking with us today.
See you next week.